Scott, I've made a special Scott PSD file which has a couple layers in it, which I'm going to get rid of at the end of this. I just want to show you how to do this because where the paths palette has nothing in it, because you don't have Illustrator, we're going to have all the paths that you need in here, and I'll show you what to do with it. And I'll show you how I got them in there real quick. But I've made a new layer here. Okay, and I'm going to go to by hitting Command tilde, which is the key, or Control tilde. The key above the tab key lets me tab to this extra file here. Let me click away from this, and oh, I closed it. So let me go to open the PSD file. Sorry, I closed it. Now let's go Control A or Command A to select all, which you have this JPEG here, right? Okay, and Control C or Command C. Now I can close that, which I did before. Now I'm going to click a new layer. I'm going to leave this as a blank layer on yours, and that's where you can start, okay, on layer 1. But let's go to Vanishing Point. Now in Vanishing Point, I'm going to change the grid size to like 50, so it's, whoops, so it's more condensed, you can see. But I'm going to delete that one and show you how to redo the grid. Okay, whoops, that's 5. Okay, let me just leave it on 50. But let me delete the grid, and now I'll start over. Okay, so you're not going to have a grid on yours. Okay, so you're going to have to go into the filter Vanishing Point right there and start and put this on 50. Okay, so let's just draw the front surface. I only need to accurately, semi-accurately draw this front surface, and then I'm done on the front surface. Now you can see there's a grid on the front surface. I can't make this any bigger, okay, so you're going to just have to watch it from this point of view. Now I'm going to hold Command or Control and drag this back along. I'm going to grab that little anchor there and drag it back to the side surface. Now I'm going to switch to the Alt or Option key, and I'm going to custom fit this to the side surface. So that's Alt or Option, and now I'm good. Now if I click back to the front surface, okay, hold Command or Control, I can just drag this back along the top surface, and I'm ready to go. And that back thing is fine right there. Now I click the whole grid. Okay, so I click away and I click the whole grid, and now I hit, because I copied that cover photo, right? So now I have the whole thing selected, right? I'm going to click, I'm not going to click, but I'm just going to put my cursor outside. Okay, so not inside, outside. Okay, and hit Control or Command V to paste. Now, as soon as I grab it from the outside, don't grab it inside, grab it from the outside over here on the right and drag it into that front surface, not the side surface, not the top surface. Now, let's just finesse it so it fits kind of nicely. I'm looking at a preview file. I'll show you what I'm looking at over here on my other screen, just to show you how I positioned it, okay, right there. All right, now I can just click OK. Now I have the first one. Now I have to make another layer. Now here's where I'm going to go into Illustrator and make your paths. So let's start with the ZXTEL. All we need are the paths for that. So I'm going to go to Illustrator. You, of course, wouldn't have it, but you're going to have paths you can use in here. I know I've repeated myself there. So now I've opened the Illustrator file, okay? And just for your knowledge, I made sure I went into the Preferences Clipboard, and I preserved my paths. I clicked AICB for Adobe Illustrator Clipboard and said Preserve Paths and clicked OK. Now I can copy and paste them into Photoshop, which is very cool. Okay, so now I just drag the selection tool and grab all of this and hit Control or Command C. Okay, now I'll leave Illustrator open, but I'm going to go back to Photoshop. Now, I can't have a layer selected or it'll paste into a layer as a vector shape. So look at how I clicked away from my layers, just for your knowledge. You don't have to do that because you're going to have the paths. And I'll put all the paths in here that you need, then I'll go back and show you how to use them. Okay, so I hit Control or Command V and I get a thing here that says, what do you want? As long as I select it away from the layers, I get these 4 things and I want a path. Okay, so I click Path. Now there is my work path for this ZXTEL. Now I'm going to double click it and name it ZXTEL logo. And I'm going to say OK, if I spelled it right. I don't care, ZXTEL. Now there's my path, and it doesn't matter where the path is, okay, because we're going to eventually make a logo layer out of the path. So I'm going to click away from this. Okay, see how I clicked away from that path? I clicked away from the layer and away from the path. Now let's go back into Illustrator and get the logos. So I'm done with this one. I can close it. Now let's go to File, Open. I may have to navigate to my folder, which I'm going to navigate to that folder, and then I won't have to do that again in front of you. I'm so sorry. Here are the new modules, Vanishing Point, asset files. Now let's take the special offer. So I'm going to open up the special offer. Now, again, I am going to take this and instead of copying the paths, because I like this, I'm going to save this one as a PNG. You can open or drag a PNG into Photoshop. Okay, so that's important. Yeah, that's the best way to do this. So I'm going to export as a PNG, and there it is. It'll be right in my thing, and I'm going to put that in your file. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with the side lettering. Maybe not, because I know I have to change the color. I'm thinking out loud here to get you so you don't have to open Illustrator because you don't have Illustrator. So I'm going to close this. Okay, so I have the PNG. Let me hide Photoshop for a second. Okay, and let me hide this for a second. Now, here is what I'm grabbing everything from. And I'm going to now go to the side copy, and I think that's all I need. Yes, it's the side copy here. So I'm going to double click that. Now I have all of this here. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to grab it all like this. Now I have converted it to outlines. Do you see how it's just paths? Okay, it's just paths. I should save that as a PNG because I need that graph, exactly the way the graph looks. I think I'm going to do both. But I'm going to save it as and export that as a PNG. I think that's the smartest way to do this. So let's go export as Brian, a PNG, and now I'll give you both PNGs when I send you this. And now the reason why I wanted to do this with you in front of you is so that you see what I go through to get this correct. And sometimes you got to think off, think from the seat of your pants. So let's go here now. Okay, so let's do the logo first. So here's my logo right there. Okay, yes. And then I'll put both PNGs as a layer in here for you to use, and you'll have to resize them. Okay, so let's figure out how to do this. I have layer 2 selected. There's the cover one. Here's layer 2 with nothing on it. Okay, let's do the, I might not even need that yet, but let's go to File, Open. In Photoshop, you're going to have to go to File, Open. So I'm going to want you now to go in here to your folder or to wherever you put the PNGs, and let's get oh, here it is. Okay, side box copy and special offer. So I'm going to double click this. Okay, now what do you do with this? Well, all you have to do is open the PNG in both cases, for the side copy and for this coupon thing. Right hand click and duplicate that layer to your Scott folder file. Now I can close this. Now I have it in here, right? There it is. So I'll just say this is the offer layer. Now I really don't need that except to let me hit the V key and put it in the middle of the screen. Okay, so now this is what I'm going to do to this. Okay, so this is what you're going to do to get the coupon on the vanishing point thing. I've made a layer here, and I'm going to call this special offer layer. think that makes sense. But let me click back to the offer layer. Watch this. Control A to select all. Control C to copy, or Command C. Now turn it off. Now click to your special offer so it goes in there. I can now deselect, Command or Control D to deselect. Now let's go into Vanishing Point. Now the grid is already selected. Very cool. Now I copied the offer. Make sure your cursor is outside the box and hit Command or Control V to paste. Now where does it go? It goes on the front. So watch how I grab this. Okay, grab it on the left side of this box. So you're outside the box, but grab it way over here. Take it down, around, and over and onto the front. Did you see how I did that? Okay, now I have to resize it. Okay, so I can hit Control T to transform. All right, now I have to find a corner marker, and I found it down here. If I didn't find it, I would just hit the return key and move it inside the box a little bit. But watch, I don't have to hold the Shift key, I believe. No, yes, I do. In Photoshop, let me Control Z back. Okay, I do have to hold the Shift key. This is weird because you don't have to hold the Shift key anymore in Photoshop except in a filter. So now I'm holding the Shift key and I'm going to resize it. And you can see how I've got it a pretty good size here. Now I just move it on the front panel. And I still have it too big, so I'll grab this upper one here and I'll go like this. Now, I think there might have been an easier way to resize this first. So let me hit the return key, okay, and now I'm going to throw away that layer. Because let's see if we can do this a little easier. So I'm going to throw away that layer, but I'm going to make a new, whoops, I should copy the title because I don't feel like typing again. And now I'm going to make a new layer right there. Double click it again. It's blank now, okay, and this is fine. I don't mind doing this, okay. Now, turn on that again. I should already have that. No, I was going to say I still had that in the clipboard, but I don't because I copied and pasted this title. Does that make sense to you? So now I click to this one, this PNG layer, okay. Control A to select all. You know what? This is a very simple thing. I should have done it in the first place. Let me just click this and hit Control T, and now I don't have to hold the Shift key and I can size it down. That was the smarter thing to do. Okay, sorry, but that was the smarter thing to do. Now, on this layer, Control A to select all, Control C to copy, turn off the layer, click to your special offer, enter Vanishing Point. Now, Control V. Now, do the same thing I just did, but now it's the right size, more or less. So now let's click it away from the box, around the bottom, don't touch in the box, now put it in the box. And now you can see that I still need to make it a lot smaller, so Control T. Now I have to hold the Shift key, and now it's a lot easier to deal with. Okay, now what was I looking at again? I hit the return key there to accept, but I was looking at the placement on this one. Now let's do this ZXTEL logo on both, okay? Now, I want you to know that this is, let me zoom in. I can zoom in, but this is a gray fill with a bevel on it of dark. Okay, so keep that in mind. A gray fill with a bevel to the lower right. So click it. Now watch how cool this is. All I have to do is Command or Control click this logo. Now all I have to do is what? Make a new layer first. That's the first rule in Photoshop. So let me go ZX-TEL logo. Okay, and then I'm going to say this is going to be where I create the logo, but then I'm going to have to copy it. Well, you'll see. So now there's nothing on this layer. All I have to do now is choose a gray. So let's go into a gray, just a medium gray like this right there. That looks good. I don't care if it's a perfect gray. It doesn't have to be. Now let's fill this. So it's Option delete or Alt backspace. So there is your gray. I probably should go a little bit lighter, Mr. Sorio. Okay, so now Option backspace or Alt backspace. Now let me deselect. Now with that layer selected, let's go in and add a bevel. So let's go to bevel, and then you can see here that I need, let me move this down or over or something. Let me move this down and then put this up here. So now if you look at my preview file, you can see it's a little bit darker and a little bit thicker. Okay, so let's go do that. Let's make it a little thicker. So let's size it out just a little bit, and that's perfect. That's actually perfect right there. Now I don't want to soften it, so I'm going to make sure it stays as a rigid edge there, right? A little bit less. Okay, right there. Now that's it. That's the logo that we need to put on the front of the box and the top of the box. So now look, front of the box, top of the box. Sorry. I have about one grid size here and one grid size over there, so let's just kind of wing it. Now, how do I do this again? I am going to need a new layer. I'm going to put it below the logo, okay, and I'm going to double click the logo and hit Command or Control C. Double click this, hit V, and I'll put in the word layer so I know it's correct. And I'll put all these in a folder so you can see how I did this, but I want you to do these. Okay, so you got to watch this a couple times. Now, how do you get that on the box? Well, Command or Control A to select all. You know what? I better shrink it first. So let me deselect and hit Control T. Whoops. There's nothing on that layer. I'm glad I actually did that. I have to click to that layer. Control T. And now I don't have to hold the Shift key. And let's just kind of position it so it's already about the right size, which is right about there. That looks about right. Let me make it a little taller by holding the Shift key. Okay. I don't know why I did that. I just did that. So now, what do? Okay, so there's your logo. Control A to select all. Control C, turn it off. Don't get rid of them. In fact, I'm even going to color these red so I know that I don't have to open these up anymore. Now here's my blank logo layer. So I go into Filter, Vanishing Point. Here it is. Control V, right? Now, oops, you see how there's no bevel? Brian made a mistake. It wasn't a big mistake, but I want to show you something. Okay, so I have to rasterize. This bevel and emboss is an effect. Let me turn it back on. So let me zoom in. Okay, this bevel and emboss, and I don't like now how I have it too wide, but that bevel and emboss, let me go to 7 here. Okay, that bevel and emboss isn't really part of this layer, so I have to rasterize the layer style. Do you see how I'm doing that? Here, I'll do it again. Right hand click and rasterize the layer style, so now it's not an effect, it's actually pixels on the layer. Good. So Control A to select. Am I on the right layer? Yes. Control A to select all. Control C to copy. Turn it off. Click to your logo layer. Go into the filter. Control V. There's the bevel. Where do I put it? I can drag it across the top here and onto here. And you can see how I can position it rather nicely right on the box. Okay, now let's say okay. Now let's do the same thing but on top of the box. So what do? I already have it copied, right? So all I have to do is now make a new layer and say top logo. Now with that layer selected, all I have to do is re-enter Vanishing Point. Now I hit Control V, there it is again. Now just drag it to the top layer and you have it perfectly placed on the top layer. Now I probably should shrink it just a mite. Okay, I wish I could get closer, but I can't. So I'm hitting Control T. I'm holding the Shift key in the corner, and I'm going to shrink it a skosh. Hit the return key. Whoops. Made a mistake. I shouldn't have hit the return key because now it's not positioned correctly and I can't do anything about it except just do it again. So now here's what I can do. I know this is a lot, but you got to watch this. So to get rid of this but not get rid of the layer, I'm going to hit Control A to select all and just hit the delete key. Okay, because that was a fine layer. I just didn't finish my positioning. Okay, so back into the filter, make sure that layer is selected. Back into the filter, Control V to paste, back on the top, Control T, shrink it by holding the Shift key, and don't hit the return key, Mr. Sorial, until you place it exactly where you want it, which is right there. Now hit the return key. Okay, let's do the side lettering. Okay, so the side lettering is going to be a little bit more involved because I have to turn black lettering into white. So I'm going to drop the PNG in there and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. It's not going to be hard, but it's going to be slightly involved. Okay, so I need white lettering with that graph. Okay, so here's how I do it. I go open the PNG, which is the side copy right there. Now, you can see here how I have it in this PNG, but I want this to be white, not black. So I could do it right here before I go into the box. So let me zoom in. Now, I'm just going to tell you the way I would do this. If I control click on this layer right here, it'll turn it into a selection. Then I can subtract out the graph so I don't harm it. Okay, so here's how I do it. I hit Control, click, and now it's all a selection. Now, if I hold the Alt key, if I go into the marquee tool, okay, now I'm in the marquee tool. That's what I want you to do. And then hold Alt, it turns into a minus symbol. Do you see that? Right there, there's a minus symbol when I hold Alt. I just drag the graph and now it's not, repeat, not part of the selection. Okay, now all I have to do is fill up this with white. So white is the background color. If I go Control backspace, I've now filled it with white. Let me deselect and I'll show you it's there. It's filled with white. Now I'm going to save as to a PNG. Let me put it over here. And I'm just going to put in here that this is white, just so I bring in the correct one. And I'm going to give you the dark one, but I want you to turn it into the light one. And you can save it as I'm doing it too. So now I've saved this PNG. Okay, now you can just leave this open. So I'm sorry, no, I'm thinking I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm not. I'm going to close it. So I close this PNG. No, I don't. I'm so sorry. To get this white lettering with the graph into your file, it's super simple. You right-hand click and you duplicate the layer. My brain must not be functioning. And then you choose the destination to your other one. Now I can close it, Mr. Sorial, and I can save it. Now there's the lettering. It's rather big, right? And you can see it says right there, it's lettering number 2. The rest of it is actually in there. So now let me go, meaning it's underneath the pasteboard. So if I hit the V key, you can see how all the lettering is there. Now I'm going to shrink it. So Command or Control T, and then don't hold the Shift key here. Don't hold the Shift key and get it to the right correct size. About. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be a little bit smaller than that. Okay, that's really good. Now let me hit the return key. Now that's the one that we are going to put. So let me go in here, side text. Now notice I didn't put the word layer, and I'm going to color it red so that I know to turn it off in a second. right? Because I need a new layer called side text layer. Okay, now click back up to the side text. Control A to select all. Control C to copy, turn it off. Where do I click? I have to click on that new blank layer. Now, filter, vanishing point, Control V to paste. Now, you can hardly see it, but grab it over here and put it onto the side copy, and then I'm going to have to shrink it. Okay, so let me put it to where I can get to that side if I hit Control T. So you see how I did that? So Control T, now I have to hold the Shift key, and you can see how I can actually shrink it to fit really nice on that side. And there is your side copy. I could make it a little longer. How do I do that? I just grab the bottom and I just extend it without holding any key down. Now, there's your side copy. Okay, now what I need to do is to darken this side panel. That's what I need to do. So I am going to create a new path. So I hit the P key, and I'm going to, I have to do a little retouching on that in a little bit, but you can see how I'm drawing. Look at this path I'm drawing. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than I need. Let me come over here, make it a little bit bigger than I need, just a little bit, because I can always fix it by clipping it. And let's go over here now and hold the Shift key, and now I have that side path. So I'm going to say side. Okay, and save the file. Okay, now what do I do with that? I use that to create an adjustment layer to darken the entire thing. So there's several ways that I can do this. Okay, I'm thinking here. I should go back in and see what I did in the tutorial, because I need this to go on top of everything. So I don't want to take the time to actually, well, I'm going to pause this for a second, and I'm going to, okay, I have the finished one open, and you can see the side panel in here is darker. What I did was, and I want to show you, I made two folders. One for the overall upper type, which I'm going to make on the one I did for you, and then inside I made a folder of the actual artwork, and then I actually put the two layers in here that I need to darken the side panel and to lighten the top. So I'll go do it on yours. Okay, so let me hit Command or Control tilde, and now I have to fix things. Okay, so on these three items here, I'm going to make a new folder for you. Let me click all three of these items by shift clicking, and let me just go in here and say that these are the pasted art layers, which I don't ever need to turn on again, so I can actually turn them off. Okay, now this is what the real one had in it. So this, all these items here, the side text, the upper logo, that and that need to go on their own, in their own folder. So click, and Brian, and shift click, and make a new folder by clicking it, double click it, and say art layer, or whatever I called it before. Now this one I'm going to, I could make a new folder for it, but I don't have to yet. And I can, by the way, turn off this one right here. I don't need that one on, but I do need this one on. Okay, sorry. So how do I do this? Well, I am going to leave this selected and go to the adjustments, couldn't think of the word here, adjustments tab down here, and go to levels. Now I'm going to darken the entire thing, and then I'm going to explain something to you. So let's darken the entire box. So I got to grab this dark one. Sometimes you can't grab it until you grab the middle one, and then I can grab the darker one. Goodness gracious alive. Don't know why it doesn't let you grab this darker one. There, it took me 3 times to darken it. Okay, so, all right, I have to cancel this because I did something wrong, but I see how it actually worked out exactly the way that I wanted, but you see how the path automatically pasted in here, and I'll let you know how that happened. So it was a mistake, but it was a good mistake, but I'm going to Control Z back until that's gone away. Okay, so now it's gone away. What I should have done, okay, is make a selection of this right here. Make a selection of this side panel. So Command or Control, click on it. Now you can see there's a selection there. Now with the selection active, make sure you're on that layer, this layer right here. Make sure you're on it. Do the same thing. Now it's going to turn into a layer mask. So when I go into this, you see how the layer mask only lets the white be edited. Black doesn't let anything I do show up. So now I can take the dark, probably take me another 5 minutes just to make it move. This is an error in Photoshop and it shouldn't do this. Shouldn't take me 5 moves to grab that dark. But anyway, now you can see how I can grab the side panel and darken it. Okay, now I can close this, and that's exactly what you needed to do. Now I need one more path for the top, which I'll now paint on this layer right here. Paint on that layer right here. Now, I'm going to clip both of these layers in a few minutes, but I need to take my pen tool, and I'm sorry this is involved, but this is what happens when you don't have Illustrator. So let me go like this, and draw a path for the top. So, and you see how I'm making it bigger than I need. And now I can go here and I can say top. And I'll save the file. Now, if I make it a selection like this, and I hit Command or Control H to hide the selection, but don't deselect it. Command or Control H. It's very important. I'm going to take my brush tool and I'm going to make the brush. See how big the brush is? I'm hitting the bracket next to the P key to make my brush very, very big. See how big it is? It's very large. Now I'm going to paint white on this. Make sure I'm on the correct layer. Let me go top shine. And let me make sure white is in the foreground color. So since white's in the background color, I'm going to hit the X key. Now I have white in the foreground color. Now, there's 2 things I need you to do here. And I haven't talked about painting a lot yet. Okay? So you need to make sure your flow on the paintbrush is about 10. No more than that. No, not 100. 10. Okay? Now, I just hit the return key. Now right hand click and make sure you're all the way soft, not all the way hard. So 0% hardness. Hit the return key. Now, do you see how I'm painting this top shine and it doesn't look very good? Okay, that's because we have to change the layer mode on it. So now let's go up to layer mode and put it on overlay. And now you can see how it just blends in. Look at how nice that top shine looks. And there's your finished file. Now, if you wanted to fix that back corner, we can. I'll show you how, but you don't have to on this one, but that's your entire thing without using Illustrator, because now you have the paths and I'm going to send you the PNGs that you need. So try to use this as your tutorial. Now here's how I'm going to do and create my finished version of this. Okay, so I have to make what's called a copy merged layer of this. Shift click this, shift click this, shift click this, and then I probably should include, no, I'm not going to include the bottom. So I'm only going to do a copy merged layer of this. Now what does that mean? That means I'm going to make a special layer and it's not going to harm these layers. So if I go Command Option E or Control Alt E, the layers that I have selected turn into what's called a merged layer, and I can turn this off, 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 and off. Now everything that was in there, including all the little coupon things and the logos, it's all on one layer now. Do you see that? Now, if I add a layer mask to, whoops, sorry. Brian made a stupid mistake. Do you remember when I said Command H hides a selection? Well, before you ever add a layer mask, just to protect yourself, always hit Control D to deselect, which I just did. Now, if I add a layer mask up to that layer on the merged layer, do you see how it's white? Now I can zoom in really close. Now I can take the paintbrush and hit the bracket key next to the P key to shrink my circle. Do you see how I'm shrinking it really, really small? Now, I want to paint in black on the layer mask to take that corner away. And you see how I can just use my flow on the brush and just come like this and just clean up that corner like this, and now it's just about gone. And when I back off of this, it's going to look just fine. See how way back here that looks just fine now? And if there were any other imperfections, I would paint them out, and nobody would ever sense that I didn't do that. That wasn't the right thing to do there. Okay, there's also something else I could do if I wanted to take a little edge off of this. I should probably show you just to show you, but you're done. Okay, now if I wanted to do something here, okay, I could take the P key, just to show you a little what I would do if this were a client job. Click one point there, don't hold the Shift key, but click one point there. Now all I have to do is finish that off like this, right there. Okay, very cool, right? Command or Control click this, and now am I clicked on the layer mask? Answer yes. If I fill it with black, it's going to eliminate this. So let me zoom in and show you. If I go Control backspace and fill it with black, whoops, something happened. Let me Control Z back. I need to fill this, what am I clicked on here? Okay, so I need to fill that. It should be working. Command delete. Okay, why isn't that working? Oh, that should be working. Let me make sure I'm not doing anything stupid. I just need to fill this up with black. Let me make sure that is black. Yes, it is black. Oh, what a silly man. I was hitting Control backspace. That's to fill with the background color. I need to fill with the foreground color. You were probably yelling at me, Scott. To fill with the foreground color is Alt backspace. My brain must be not working. There. Now I've Alt backspaced it, and you see how I fixed it. Now let me deselect and hit Command or Control Z to show you that's what it was. That's what I have. So I kind of fixed that corner and made it a little bit cleaner for the client, but there's my job. Okay? And that's the entire thing. Sorry for, you're gonna have to watch this a couple of times and then go step by step, and if you need me to be more clarified, fine. But just turn your file in like this with your copy merge layer on it. So if you, and you wouldn't even need a copy merge layer. Okay, look, you don't even need it if you do your box better than I did. So I can now turn on the art layer, turn on all this here, and now we're back to normal with that bad thing I had up there. Okay, so now you know how to do a copy merge layer. I'm going to leave it off. So I'm going to hit Command S to save this file or Control S to save this file. Now, to give you this, let me think of what I want to do here. I am going to take everything here, everything, including these pasted layers that I'm just turning on, and then I'll go inside and I'll actually turn them on again. So all of these pasted layers here, I'm going to put all of this right from here to here in a Brian folder. So now I've shift clicked all of these, okay, all of them. I'm going to hit the folder and I'm going to call this Brian. Now you can just turn it off. Look, now you're back to your normal file, and I'll turn this on. So that's really where you begin. What do you do first? You just click to the box here and add a new layer, and then you can start with your art layer to put on that cover, okay, that blue cover. And then you're going to have to go step by step. So this is the file you're going to get. If you want to see what Brian did, there's all this stuff that Brian did. If you want to go into Brian and turn off this top one, now you can see the original, okay? And I'll even color this red as well. So now you can see that's just the pasted art layers. That's because you didn't have Illustrator and we needed to make these 3 layers in order to use Vanishing Point and make their layers here, 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 and here. Now those are all from those pasted layers there. So I hope I made sense there. Let me save this one more time so it closes, and I'll turn it off and save it one more time. So this is the way you get it. Thank you.